Sensodyne is the best one.
I can enjoy my ice cream as I want to. I don't have to be afraid or embarrassed of my sensitivity.
I can eat my ice cream when I use the Sensodyne, and I can drink my cold gin and tonics.
It does the job.
Well, hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Not too bad.
Good.
Yeah, plodding on. Keep
Good.
turning the pedals, as the saying goes.
Good. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We're going to have quite a difficult conversation, I guess, in many ways today.
Yeah. I hope I behave.
But one that I think is really, really important
Mm-hmm.
for the people listening,
Yeah.
the people watching. The theme is fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's a word that is familiar in
Yeah.
dentistry. A lot of dentists and dental professionals can associate with that word.
Yeah.
But I think what you have gone through and come out the other end of has been the extreme of the extreme.
Right.
And I think you'll have some really interesting insights
Yeah.
into what that means and how people can move past it.
Okay.
Before
Yeah.
we get into that, it'd be
Yeah.
great to just know a bit about your journey into dentistry, your
Ooh.
story, whistle stop tour.
Whistle stop tour. Trained in Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
Did a whole host of house jobs, from prosthetics, then Birmingham, several years in Birmingham, Children's Hospital, Dental Hospital, restorative, oral med, oral surgery, part-time practice at the same time, then full-time NHS practice. Was going to do Max Fax, then they changed the rules, and I thought, well, hang on, I'm not going to go back and do 5 years when I'm already seeing head and neck cases in a registrar. Stumbled across ortho, fancy doing ortho, but couldn't get a job. So it was my 12th interview at Bristol. You had to do a presentation, and I just thought, sod it, I'll do one on the internet, because it was coming out at the time. Everyone was doing case reports, and I thought, well, I've got plenty of funny-looking kids from the Children's Hospital. I could do plenty of case reports, but the interesting...
Disclaimer, I was definitely one of those when I was 12.
But the internet's far more interesting. And for some reason, Bristol took me. So did my specialist training in Bristol. Upset them quite a bit because I like to work on the evenings. Turning up as a Max Fax locum, and they're like, what are you doing here? I'm the Max Fax guy today. It confused the orthodontists. And then went into practice, did a consultant's job up in the West Midlands, back into specialist practice. During that time, a lot of teaching. So I used to teach at Warwick University for their MSc, then went on to set up the lingual MSc, so I was clinical director at Warwick.
Oh, okay.
ACE diploma, teach on that, run my own courses.
Busy man.
Chairman of the British Lingual Society, and again doing see things different. So video killed the radio star, and I was like, what? And it's all about like technology. Will it get rid of tradition? But we're still here.
Yeah,
even this
course.
day and age, you can't beat the traditional ways. And so the academic side, and still doing a lot of medical legal stuff as well.
Yeah, we'll touch on that later. Actually, I think that's really interesting. As a dentist, fitting in with this theme of the word fear, why do you think it is felt so much by the profession?
I think for some reason, dentistry, we're almost held at, I don't want to say top of the ladder, and we are severely, again, I can never get my words, beaten by our governing body. We're seen as an easy target for patients. We're all too busy fixing things. Certainly from my experience and being involved with other professionals, should we say, and the camaraderie they have, and how they look after each other, and we don't have it. And trying to get people to say, well, come on, let's pull together, let's take on. Because, again, well, you know, the military guys, they choose their leaders.
Yeah.
We don't.
No, I know.
And you have to question, are they fit for purpose, especially with the recent
Yes, of course. We spoke about that earlier,
news
didn't we?
sort of
The
thing,
High
yeah.
Court ruling, yeah.
And then it's like, well, come on, we'll do something. And then it's almost like everyone takes one step back. And we need to change. We need to get the momentum, the pendulum going back the opposite way.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen, is it? Unless the profession comes together
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
one force.
And there are a few key people out there.
For sure.
And, you know, people know various people on social media who, fair play, are consistently persistent using freedom of information to get
Yes. Yeah.
facts and figures
Absolutely.
against our...
That is actually a blessing. FOI,
Yeah.
when that came in 2000, 2001 maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've used that a few times
Hmm.
in my career, and it's a really handy tool
Yeah.
to find out information
Well, it
about
is.
organisations, but it can be super frustrating.
Yeah, I've tried to use it and I'm getting stuck, but that's for my own personal use and court
It's
sort of
interesting
thing.
because I think there's a lot of get out of jail free cards, a lot of technicalities that people can withhold information
Yeah.
from you if you don't phrase it correctly. There's an art to it.
Oh,
I
definitely.
find.
And that's what I find with the legal stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the whole experience. You think the law is the law, but it's super bendy.
Yeah.
They can manipulate it to their own.
Absolutely. I think that kind of springboards us into the next part of this conversation. So there will be some people who are familiar with what you went through, and I mean, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but maybe you're still grappling with today in some
Yeah.
ways. So for many people, 2020, the biggest challenge that people kind of had was the very obvious one, which was the pandemic,
Yeah.
COVID. Probably wasn't your biggest challenge.
No.
Might be fair to say. So
Yeah.
would you mind explaining a little bit about what happened towards the end of 2019?
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, a very successful, very wealthy guy who was retired when he was 35 came in wanting his teeth straightened, severe crowding, really severe. So took out 2 premolars, relief of crowding, aligning level, blah, blah, blah. And as his teeth were aligning, he started saying, well, I can get gaps between my teeth. I can use floss, I can use interdental brushes. This is wrong. And it's like, so you try to educate them, you know, go through everything. No. If I can do this, water's getting between my teeth.
Okay.
And it's getting in my blood. And it's poisoning me. Okay. So after a few months, not getting anywhere, refer him to the hospital, sees consultant, orthos, works fine.
And when was this? This was years back, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still arguing. Okay, go and see a gum specialist or a professor in gums. Sorry, perio. No, you are all wrong and I am right. I've done my research. So I thought, okay. And then I think November the 24th, I always remember, it's, well, you've seen orthodontists, you've seen periodontists. There's nothing more I can do because we all say your teeth are fine, they're aligned and leveled. It's normal to floss and use interdental brushes.
Sure.
And he goes, well, I want you to put me back how I used to be. And I thought, well, okay, there's a red flag because any reasonable person would say there's a significant change, really significant, because, you know, the dentist listening had a 2-4 contact and 2 canines like Dracula. And then I want you to put my teeth back in.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, hang on, mate, I took them out a couple of years ago. I'll just check the bin, see if they're still in there.
I was going to say, where are they?
And this is a hyper-intelligent person. So I thought, well, look, there's nothing I can do. So anyway, we took the braces off and then battened down the hatches, waiting for a challenge, sort of a negligence case, GDC case or something. Nothing. So 3 years went past, nothing. And then one night in, November the 24th, so it's literally on the anniversary, decided to come knocking. And basically I live in the middle of nowhere, very rural place. Fortunately, one of the people the farmers who rents the stables spotted a bloke acting suspiciously, dressed in black balaclava.
Okay.
Called the police. I mean, it is a rabbit warren where I live. There's tiny roads.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he was a local person on, like, well, if somebody's acting suspicious, something's going to go down, like a burglary.
Yeah.
Came out, and basically they caught him, opened the car's sealed in polythene, totally sealed, opened the boot, crossbows, ready to fire, axes, jerry cans full of some sort of agent, shall we call it? But I think it was chloroform. Journals, lots of written journals, all detailed, all his research over 4 years. So even when he was seeing me, he was still stalking, following me.
Yeah.
And there's a local woods, so he knew on the Thursday I wouldn't be in work till Monday, so he knew I wouldn't be missed. So he had it planned out what he was going to do in the woods, how he was going to basically torture me, dismember me. He had all his cleaning protocols worked out to be forensically clean, and then he had a second cleaning station elsewhere to make doubly sure he'd be forensically clean.
And just to be clear, you had no idea this was going on?
Absolutely nothing. No, I say, knowing what he was like, you would just expect a solicitor's letter or a GDC complaint.
Yes, but that never arrived.
You just don't think someone's
no, of course not,
going to take physical revenge on you.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And what happened next? How did you feel when you had found this out?
In some ways, I was a bit numb, and like everyone's busy, so you don't really think about it. You also think really stupid because you think, well, hang on, he's been following me for 4 years. Where I'm teaching, he's going. He's in the hotels where I'm going. I say, live in the middle of nowhere in some outbuildings.
Yeah.
He's been in there watching overnight.
Yeah. I can imagine that must have made you feel not only quite violated, but also really damaged your trust, maybe in other people, but also in yourself in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of don't expect it, and then you sort of think, well, how did I miss it? But because you don't expect it, you're not on your radar.
Of course. Why that isn't something you'd ever think.
You wouldn't think a normal person would do it.
No, of course.
Yeah.
So obviously, it seems that they caught him at a very good time, given that he was very close to where you were living.
Well, it was at the end of the drive.
End of the drive. And he went to prison, didn't he?
Yes. So technically, going equipped to murder is not a criminal offence. And again, I've got patients who are ex-chief constables, one lady's head of law. They said it's attempted murder because the fact he loaded the car up, drove it and did everything. Okay, he didn't get to pull the trigger. But I don't know what happened. This is where I say everything is bendable in court.
Yeah.
But it came out as stalking without menace, which is a low-level crime. So I think it was just over a year, and he did probably just over 6 months.
Is that it?
And then he was released. But no one told me because it's a low-level crime.
So I remember covering this. He was released, you weren't told, and then he appeared again.
6 weeks later. And again, whether he knew or not, but it's when COVID's, so the front door was locked. The nurse and receptionist always went out for lunch. I was in the building with all the windows wide open.
Yeah.
No one would have known.
Yeah.
Literally 100 metres outside. So, yeah, came back for a second go. But again, it can't be done or charged on previous things. So that was just breaking a restraining order. So another 6 months, and that was it.
This may sound like a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it because only you can talk about what you went through. But would you call this the most challenging time of your life?
I would, yeah, certainly, yeah, definitely, yeah. And I think it's not so much, well, maybe it is what happened, but I remember Jordan Peterson's quote, it's like, you're so conceptualized and you play by the rules and you think the rules are there. And my God, if you break the rules, hung, drawn, quartered. And then when this happens, you sort of expect the rules and they just bend.
Yeah.
And it's like open Pandora's box and you have no idea what's going on. And just the lack of support. And I say going equipped to murder, he would have got longer coming equipped to burgle. Going equipped to murder is not a criminal offence. Going equipped to burgle is. And Dame Vera Bird, QC, Victims Commissioner, she's quoted on BBC. This dentist could not be more let down by the criminal system.
I mean, it sounds that way. It sounds, and I don't blame you for feeling let down with the lack of support.
But again, everyone, been to MPs, been to the House of Lords. Oh, terrible, isn't it? And they're not interested in changing the law.
No.
And you think, well, if it's happened to me, and maybe I'm a bit simple, and I just keep plodding on, like the bike, keep turning the pedals, it's going to happen to someone else. Yeah. And I was lucky. What's it, Tom York? Yeah. And May to listen to that.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre because I was put in touch with, as you know, Colin and Paddy.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But there's another couple of guys in my neck of the woods who are also same background, totally independent. They don't know each other, but they came forward to help me out.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's like going on to the GDC. It's like I can, you can't come off the register. You can't change your name. Yeah, but I can work the database. Well, who's going to type your name in and go through every single city in the UK? Well, I know someone who probably would actually.
I was going to say, it's I think that flexibility, the lack of flexibility, I might say, with the regulator is a significant in all areas of the regulation. But in this one, if we're talking about this one specifically, you do know someone who might just do that.
I mean, 2 years later, the police finally got them to say, I can change my name.
Okay. But 2 years.
Well, it's 2 years later, and guess what? It's too little, too late, mate.
Well, I don't blame you for feeling like that. I mean, I saw online that the prosecuting barrister of the case said, I've been in practice for 21 years now, and I've never come across a case like this. Yeah,
it's literally, I can't watch something like Luther because it just.
No, I mean, I can imagine. How did you move past this?
Again, it's meeting. Sort of Paddy and Colin and the guys from the military. And in some ways, it's just like, what have I got to complain about? You see what they've been through, you're like, whoa, that is something else sort of thing. And it just puts everything in perspective. And it's just like, get outside, get out the pity party. No one likes, that, just move on because, no one is going to help you. And I remember I did a talk for the BOS conference on it. Some lady comes up, says, "Oh yes, very, very powerful, but you do swear a lot." And I'm like, "It wasn't your fucking life at risk, was it, love?" And I was going, "Yeah, Hutch, sort of thing." Yeah. Because until it happens to you. Yeah.
Don't comment.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I can imagine that was frustrating.
Yeah.
The focus of this episode is fear. So before we move on to this next part about handling that fear, what does that word mean to you?
I would say control.
Okay.
Fear controls you.
Okay.
It controls what you do. And you can't let it. And again, that's going to move back into dentistry because certainly teaching and seeing how, being in the profession for so long, seeing how it's changing, and the new qualified people are in fear of being litigated, and the number of dentists I know just do hygiene or just want to do, you know, bleaching and bonding sort of thing.
Because they feel it's a safer option.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you can be scared, but you can't let it control. You just got to say, yeah, I'm going to still move forward. I'm going to do the best I can and move forward. But it does control. And okay, you can split it up, and you've got, how can you categorize it? That's sort of more like chronic fear.
Yes.
And that's quite easy, I think, to manage. And, you know, you learn tricks and do it, but it's the acute, that tsunami that washes over you in that instant. It's like, whoa, learning to control that's the hard bit. Yeah.
How has this informed your professional life now as a dentist? Do you feel it has made you more resilient as a clinician?
I wouldn't. It makes me very suspicious.
I think that's allowed.
Again, you know, it's like people, I keep going back to, I can't describe what it's like being part of a group like the Special Forces guys, and watch 13 hours. And there's that line, I don't know, 10 minutes in, we read people. And that's what I've learned to do. You read people, because you're taught to be a fixer, and you say, oh yeah, I can fix it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you forget there's a patient around that. And so it said, you do attract the nutters. Like, you should see all the study model I keep just in case for nutters. And it is, and I've started to realise they come in and they are literally expected. They think, they don't know it necessarily, but they want something in their life to change. And by having their teeth fixed, and, you know, there's one guy who wanted to be football team physio, and his teeth aren't straight, and we must have had about so many study models and biting bits of cheese to look at this and models. And it's only when he got the job, his teeth were straight. And there's another lady, she wanted to get married and have kids and be a teacher. Teeth were straight, bingo. And so you need to learn how to read patients. And again, I've got some key questions. One of my witness cases, whatever you want to call it, from many years ago, was somebody who developed agoraphobia, shall we say, and lost their job in a high-powered job, and they blamed the brace.
I see. Fitting
the brace triggered them. And the consultant psychiatrist was backing her up. And it's like, because the barrister's like, who the hell's hell? Come in, like, effing and blind, and where's the evidence? Blah blah blah. And at the end of the day, we got him off. But I always remember saying, you should do psychological assessment of all your patients. But the flip side is, when you've got somebody, and working in the children's hospital, we had all these funny looking kids, and you learn about body dysmorphia and stuff, and you phone up your defence unit and say, I've got someone. No, what do you know about it? Well, actually, no, it's not your job to do any psychological assessment of your patients. So you've got two complete opposites.
Yeah.
But with all of this and experience, I think you've got to. I think there's more. Okay, you've got the acute problem, take the tooth out, cure the pain. But for those people coming in for, like we said, bonding, orthodontics and that, there's something else deeper, and you need to find out what it is.
There'll be a lot of people watching, listening, I think, who might be a little bit, I guess, scared listening to this conversation and hearing what you went through. What would your advice be to those people who might be grappling with fear?
You're either going to have to accept it or you're going to have to get off your arse and do something about it.
Okay.
It's like exercise. You've got to do it, and you've got to do it every day. You know, someone said it's got to be forged. You've got to get uncomfortable every day, get used to that feeling. And then the old Viktor Frankl, press the pause button, choose your reaction. But it's only by putting yourself in those predicaments that you learn what it, you know, feels like. And you've got to do it.
Yeah.
So you've got to get outside your comfort zone and do stuff.
I know you mentioned earlier that you hear of dentists now who stick to what we described as, I guess, safer treatments. So with that advice in mind that you just gave, would you recommend that people don't let that fear hold them back in their career, that they should pursue the path that they want to pursue despite the fear that might come with that?
Yeah, totally. Because I think, again, going back to sort of the expert witness stuff I do, it's like, because we teach ortho sort of thing, and some of the guys, I have to say, people think, oh, I've got a badge, I'm going to get a diploma and MOrth. No, that ain't going to protect you at all. Here's what you need to protect yourself medico-legally, and then here's some other additional skills, such as learning to read people, and then here's some other stuff you can do outside to develop and build your resilience. Or, you know, I'm not saying don't be fearless, because you're a liability if you're fearless.
Okay.
But fear less.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
It's a difference. Use the fear as fuel
Okay.
to be better, but you've got to practice or earn it. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to go into that expert witness work that you do. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about what exactly that is?
Yeah. I mean, it is mainly sort of for defence organisations. So you get a breach of duty and causation or condition and prognosis report, and then the odd GDC hearing sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're quite interesting because although you've got the defence unit in the way, you try to manage the clinician's fear.
Okay.
And again, it's like, you need to do this, and this. You know, it is rewarding because
I can imagine
you can see people's confidence change. So yeah.
Do you think managing fear is something that should be taught to dentists or dental professionals actually in general at university?
I think not necessarily. Sorry, yes, but I think it should be taught at school.
Okay.
I was chatting to one of the guys from the BOS, and he was saying how some of the consultants are having problems with the new wannabe consultants, because when you've got to do the consultant examination, they failed, and they've never failed anything before. They've always had a medal for participating. Yeah. So I think it goes right back to school.
Okay.
And I think you need to learn to fail, and failure is good because you learn from it. Definitely. As long as you move forward. Absolutely. And resilience. So I'm not saying it's a good idea to do in dentistry, but I think it begins at much more grassroots level, definitely.
More general approach than specific to a career, but actually as just people, we should be taught how to handle fear and how to move past fear.
Yes.
What was some of the, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of the sort of coping mechanisms that you prescribed yourself or other people recommended for you to control it when at the time of when it was at its peak? I mean,
I suppose the acute one, I got to laugh because there's like, Hutch, do you know what you're doing? So for me, it was cold showers.
Okay.
And, you know, you can start with on your chest and then sort of your head, and you got that like slush puppy brain freeze. And then you put it on your face, and then Yeah, I was putting a wet flannel over my face. Because once you can control your breath,
Okay.
you've always got one more breath. And again, for me, I used to wake up, nightmares. It's like, okay, I've taken one, I'm grounded, he's got me, and now he's got a polythene bag on my head. So I'd wake up gasping for air and like, how am I going to get out of this? Because I'm wounded with a crossbow bolt being skewered.
Yeah.
And now I've got a bag over my head. What the fuck are you going to do? So that's where, and then I go, Hutch, you're waterboarding yourself. I'm like, am I? Oh. But it works because you learn to control the breath.
Yeah.
And once you can control that breath, then you're empowered.
Was that something that you worked out yourself?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I'd heard people say, oh, it's cold showers are good for you. And I thought, okay, I'll try that.
Yeah.
And then, well, actually, it really catches your breath.
Yeah.
And then, doing sort of triathlons, Ironman and stuff. I like swimming, but I don't like being swum over, and you get used to
I
it.
understand that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it feels like you're drowning.
Yeah.
So
I've heard they can be quite brutal.
Yeah,
That starting, everyone's
Yeah.
kind of pushing
And
you
it's like,
back.
what's the rush, guys?
Yeah.
It's going to be at least,
That's the
10,
first
11
leg.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get you on the bike. Yeah. So, yeah,
You do as well, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I always get them back on the bike.
Cycling's your
Gareth,
thing.
I'm watching.
Do you
Yeah.
feel obviously it was a very traumatic and harrowing time for you. We've spoken about how you applied that, what you've taken from that professionally, but you mentioned there, you like to exercise, you like to cycle, triathlons. Is there something from that experience that you feel has translated well into the sporting element?
I think, certainly I thought it was just me, but then again, chatting to the other guys who I did it with, when you're doing like an Ironman, you do go through that, what the hell, and you have a little moist eye time. And then you just think, just keep going. And again, I did a song calls, and yeah, I remember going up to Valberg, and I just thought, no. I had no skin on my hands because I didn't realise you get salt rub.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
And it's literally like when you're doing like a burn, so you do a full skin flap.
Just in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, just big flap of skin hanging off raw.
Oh my gosh.
And then you just think, and it is just a little bit further.
Yeah.
Just keep going. So again, I think I've been lucky from cycling, and the blokes at the end, I mean, it was 10 days. I never saw them. But at the end of the day, at the end of the holiday, everyone's chatting like, Jesus, Hutch, you're just fucking relentless, aren't you?
Yeah.
You just keep going. You're just a big diesel. And it's like, so in some ways, I think, again, childhood, you'd go out on your bike, you had 10p for the phone. And it's not good phoning because dad ain't going to come pick you up. And, your crank would snap or the seat pin. So you'd have to ride if the seat pin went like stood up.
Yeah.
But you do what you had to do
Yeah.
to fix the problem. No point panicking.
No, of course.
Just do it.
Yeah.
So I think that builds resilience and in some ways lack of fear as well.
I feel like you kind of had that want to push through in you even prior to this time, though. I mean, I don't think people who don't have that do Ironman.
Well, Ironman's just a day out, isn't it? I mean, they laugh because it's like you do your swim and then you come out and you've got your little thermos and your ham and cheese sandwich and you have a little bite and then you go off and do your bike ride. And the weird thing is, it's like every time I try to do one, I always pull something in the back of my leg. So I've always done like 6-7 mile run. And that was a marathon. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's just 4 laps.
That's how you've got to see it.
Yeah, and if someone said run a marathon, I couldn't. But if someone said just do 4 laps, so you do one, all right, okay, I'll do another one. All right, and there's only one more to do. Sod it, might as well do it.
It's a good way of looking at it.
It's another way of breaking
This
things
is where I'm
down.
going to plug that I love running. This is my probably the only thing I can do.
Right.
So I can relate to the running element.
Yeah.
But the combining the swimming and the cycling. And I also used to teach swimming as well at part-time when I was younger. So I should be confident with that element. I'm not cycling, I'm not running, I am. So the fact that you can put all 3 together and push through,
it's just, I just
no
thought it was
idea.
a good all-round, because I get used to cycling, just bent over all the time.
That's true. And a dentist. They don't really
Yeah,
seem
it's
to
not good.
complement each
No,
other.
and that's why I've got dodgy back, or certainly dodgy neck. And the running thing, oh, bone density, it's good for you, sort of thing, and,
Yeah.
and the swimming. But yeah, you've got to do something that it's like someone said, if you don't have a goal that scares you, there's no point in doing it because you ain't going to do it.
No, agreed. I think you've got to. It's very cliche, but I think cliches are called cliches for a reason because a lot of the time they apply quite universally to people.
Yeah.
But you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think sometimes, and obviously within reason, what you went through took that way over the line. I'm not here advocating saying everybody should experience
got to
that.
Just succumb to it. So, and the reason I say that is, Paddy, and we've done various courses, and we started moving out of the classroom into more practical courses. And shout out to Helen and Sandra. They are forged.
Who are Helen and Sandra?
Helen Rimmer, Sandra Scapelhorn, both dentists.
Okay.
And they've just, it's like you just say yes and do it, and you just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the confidence or lack of fear go, sort of thing. They just put all the trust. It's a bit like when I first met Paddy, I'm just thinking, what the hell's going on here? And then they sit you down across the table, and it is like within 2 minutes they're in your head.
So for people watching, listening, only because I think you'd be better at describing who Paddy is, what kind of he does.
So Paddy is, or was, special reconnaissance, which you'd have to look up. So you've got SAS, special reconnaissance support, SAS sort of thing, do a lot of the intelligence, and work alongside, shall we say, and I say the stuff they've been through. And it's all in the public domain, but you'd have to look for it to scratch the stories. And I say Colin, he sort of was the Daily Mail when they got ambushed, escorting MI6 people, and just because they put enough gunfire down, the American satellites picked them up. British government said more important things than British soldiers' lives in the Daily Mail. So his colleagues no, got a tank, drove it through the police thing, rescued him.
Wow.
But I mean,
so significant events that they've all been through and come out the other end of.
And again, numerous events. It's not like a lot of them these days that do one tour and then get a book deal. They've done lots of tours and still live to tell the tale. And like Cole says, sometimes fear, sometimes you've got to go forward because it's better than going back.
Absolutely.
Going back might be the quick, short-term, nice option.
Yes.
But you're going to pay for it in the long run.
For sure. It sounds like you've tried to turn what you've gone through on its head and found, I don't want to say the good, but the useful from it. You've managed to take parts that have improved you and
Learn
your
to make lemonade, as the saying goes.
Well, that is true. Yeah. That is true. I think to round up, it'd be really good for you to give your advice to, and not necessarily younger dentists. They often are maybe perhaps a little bit more vulnerable than those who have been in the profession for longer. But just anybody who may be grappling with fear at the moment, be it to do with the GDC, be it patient complaints, be it any element of their life, what kind of tips and advice can you offer to them to keep it under control and make it a superpower rather than a limit? Yeah,
I think there's quite a few resources, books out there on management overwhelm, like fear and stress, and then also find someone like a mentor type thing, or just do uncomfortable things. Put yourself outside your comfortable zone where there's a chances you are going to fail and you are going to be uncomfortable, and embrace it, get used to the taste of it, the feel of it, and just practice.
Yeah, master that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Ian, thank you so much
It's okay,
for
you're
coming down
welcome.
to talk
Thank
to us
you.
today. Obviously, really, really traumatic time that you went through. But it's been amazing to hear how you've come out of that and what you've done with that experience and kind of made it work for you. And I think that will be really inspiring and helpful for a lot of the people listening or watching today.
Yeah. Well, I said they know where to get me. I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I find that Sensodyne is the best one.
I can enjoy my ice cream as I want to. I don't have to be afraid or embarrassed of my sensitivity.
I can eat my ice cream when I use the Sensodyne, and I can drink my cold gin and tonics.
It does the job.